Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a really crucial piece of the puzzle when it comes to measuring sustainability in the massive, resource-heavy construction materials industry. Now, if you follow environmental, social, and governance reporting, ESG, you already know that data is everything. But here's the catch. Data without scale is essentially meaningless. So today, we're zooming in on the SASB standards, which are now under the stewardship of the International Sustainability Standards Board. And we're going to explore the exact mechanism they use to bring some much-needed clarity to this incredibly complex sector. We're going to focus on what I like to call the unsung hero of sustainability reporting, the activity metric.
Okay, let's just dive right into this comparison problem, because honestly, this is the fundamental challenge investors and analysts face every single day. Think about it. How do you fairly evaluate two drastically different companies? You've got a massive global operation with dozens of facilities on one hand, and then a regional producer with maybe 2 or 3 kilns on the other. If you just look at their total, absolute environmental footprint, well, the global company is always going to look like the heavier polluter, right? But is that actually an accurate reflection of their operational efficiency and environmental risk?
Well, the short answer is no, absolutely not. Raw sustainability metrics completely lack context. Under the SASB standard for construction materials, companies have to disclose data like their gross global Scope 1 greenhouse gas emissions or the total thousands of cubic meters of water they withdraw. And don't get me wrong, these are incredibly important figures. This industry generates significant direct greenhouse gas emissions from fuel combustion, and it gobbles up substantial volumes of water. But a massive company naturally uses more energy and emits more greenhouse gases simply because they're producing way more material. It's just physics. If we just stop our analysis at those raw totals, we are literally flying blind. We can't tell who is actually innovating and who is just, well, small.
So, to solve this headache, the SASB framework introduces a vital concept. I absolutely love this definition straight from page 4 of the Introduction to the Standards. It says, activity metrics quantify the scale of specific activities or operations by an entity and are intended for use in conjunction with the metrics to normalize data and facilitate comparison. The absolutely crucial point here is that word normalize. An activity metric gives us the mathematical denominator we desperately need. It tells us how much stuff a company is actually making, so we can divide their total emissions or water use by their total production, and that gives us a clear per-unit rate of environmental impact.
The standard distills this entire concept into a single, concrete framework under the code EM-CM-00.A. It sounds a bit technical, but this one requirement is exactly what unlocks our ability to compare any two construction material companies in the world. It mandates that companies must report their scale of operations. And it doesn't just ask for a vague estimate of size like, oh yeah, we make a whole lot of bricks. No way. It requires specific quantitative measurement.
Section 1. Measuring scale, the universal denominator.
You see, in an industry that produces literally everything from crushed stone to fiberglass insulation, you need a common language. And that language is the metric ton. This serves as the fundamental unit of measure for quantifying production across the entire industry. Whether a company is mining sand and gravel out of a quarry, firing clay in a kiln, or manufacturing massive quantities of cement, weight is the great equalizer. By standardizing the reporting unit to metric tons, the SASB framework ensures that analysts aren't trying to compare pallets of bricks to cubic yards of concrete. Everything gets translated into raw, undeniable tonnage.
But hold on. Simply providing a single massive number representing millions of metric tons of total production isn't quite good enough either. The SASB standard goes a step further to ensure real accuracy. Companies must break down their production by major product lines. And here's the kicker. They don't just get to arbitrarily group things together to hide inefficient parts of their business. The standard explicitly notes that the determination of these major product lines has to be based on revenue generation. So you have to categorize your production based on where your actual money is coming from.
To get that level of granularity, companies report their total production in metric tons broken down into distinct categories. We're talking about major product lines like cement and aggregates, composites, roofing materials, fiberglass, brick, and tile. They might also include an other category that bundles multiple smaller revenue streams. This breakdown is absolutely vital. Think about it. The energy required to melt glass for fiberglass at almost 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit is a completely different universe from the energy used to just crush aggregates. By forcing companies to report their tonnage split across these specific product lines, we can assess the environmental efficiency of a company's cement operations completely separately from its roofing material operations.
Section 2. Putting it into practice. Normalizing the data.
Let's think about the raw data disclosure first.
Take, for example, the total gigajoules of energy consumed by a facility. On its own, a massive number of gigajoules really just tells us, hey, that's a big factory. But when we normalize the data, that's where the magic happens. We take those total gigajoules and divide them by our activity metric, the total metric tons of cement produced. Suddenly, we reveal a completely different picture. Now we have the energy consumed per metric ton of cement. This transforms potentially misleading raw data into an accurate, true apples-to-apples comparison. You can take this normalized figure and line it up directly against a competitor's facility halfway across the globe to see exactly who is running the most energy-efficient kiln.
Which brings us to our final thought. How does quantifying a single metric ton of production fundamentally change how we assess corporate sustainability risk? Well, it shifts the entire conversation from absolute size to operational efficiency. It actually empowers investors to identify the true innovators in the space. The companies that are reducing the waste they generate, optimizing their water consumption in highly stressed regions, and lowering their carbon footprint on a per-ton basis. The SASB activity metric proves that when it comes to understanding real sustainability in construction materials, context isn't just helpful, it is absolutely everything. So the next time you're digging into an ESG report, I want you to ask yourself, are you just being blinded by raw, massive numbers, or do you have the activity metric to see the real story?